Hello, and welcome to How to Stay Happy as We Age. In a lot of speeches, you can get informed or enlightened or amused, and that's fine. That's true of my speeches. But this one is something special. This one can make a major difference in your life. Right away, in the next 2 days, 2 weeks, 2 months, in the next 20 or 30 years, whether you're listening to it in the year 2019 or you're listening to it sometime way in the future. I hope it means something to you. All right, that's a pretty serious opening and a pretty serious topic. So now we're going to lighten some things up with some cartoons. My daughter Amanda will read the captions.
The first senior moment. Oh crap, was that today? Senior bike gangs. There's 15 miles to the next rest stop. Let's ride. Good news, the pain in your chest wasn't a heart attack. It was your belt buckle. Good drainage is key. Thankfully, the bus came, so he never had to find out if the old guy was talking about gardening or a medical condition. Okay, calm down. That's not whistling, they're wheezing.
All right, let me challenge you to think. The ancient Greeks said an unexamined life isn't worth living. I want you to examine your life and think about this. How happy do you want to be? Second, is it possible to be happy as we get older? Does it depend on you? What kind of sacrifices are you willing to make? What price are you willing to pay? Let me try to tell you why I am here. I'm here due to the love and patience and understanding of my dear wife, Paulette, also family and friends, and doctors and nurses, and I'm here because of a young lady of Indian descent by the name of Prachi. Prachi is the most dedicated, most enthusiastic, most understanding medical person I've ever met. She was my physical therapist, and immediately I began to improve. Prachi knew my history. 12 and a half years ago, I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. You can tell that I've got the tremors. If you need your coffee stirred, I'm the guy to talk to. Parkinson's isn't all bad because I don't really need an automatic or electrical toothbrush. This works just fine. So, Parkinson's was good most of the time, but in 2017 it hit, and it hit really hard. I was housebound for 30 days. Some of that time I was in a wheelchair. On July 4th, 2017, I was taken by ambulance to the hospital. I thought that was the end of it for me. But I recovered and I'm back again. In October of 2018 is when I met Prachi, and the sickness struck again. I was so sick. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't talk. Could hardly walk. I had to cancel an appointment with her. Then I decided, hey, I'm going to say goodbye in person. So I went to her and I said, Prachi, the sickness has returned. I can't do anything about it. I have to say goodbye. I have to quit the workouts. She took her hands in mine, looked at me and said, Michael, this is unacceptable. You are a fighter, not a quitter. You have a story to tell. You can inspire people. And she took me by the hands and we did our workouts, and I had to take several rest stops, but everything worked out okay. It's because of Prachi that I'm here. And Parkinson's has been a real challenge, But it's been a great teacher, and it's taught me some important lessons, and I want to share them with you. What's this talk all about? Well, let me explain. Can this couple, an 85-year-old couple, be as happy as this couple, a 60-year-old couple? The 60-year-olds do a lot more activities, have a lot fewer medical problems. Can the 85-year-olds be as happy? Can this fella, an 80-year-old, be as happy as this 60-year-old? Is that possible? Even though the 60-year-old probably can get around much easier and do a lot more things, can they both be happy? Can you and I stay happy as we age? I call on many philosophers to answer questions throughout this speech. Buddha, Confucius, Hindu proverbs, the Bible, John Wesley, Ralph Waldo Emerson, David Thoreau. But the greatest philosopher, in my humble opinion, is this man, Robert J. Enright, my father. This picture that you're looking at shows a drawing done by our daughter Ashley of a picture of my dad back in the 1980s when he was mayor of our town. He was the most positive man I've ever known. He worked so hard, and yet he was so positive. When he had to take up and use a walker, he was positive about that. He said, all these walkers are really cool. They're the greatest invention of the 20th century. They got brakes, you can turn around, you can sit down on them. That allows me to walk. He was a bridge player, and he got macular degeneration, and he could no longer play bridge. He was still positive about it, said, I have so many wonderful memories of that. I'm so happy about that. He was positive in that he liked jokes, telling good things about people, giving warm, wonderful advice. My dad was positive even in the most trying times. When his wife, my mother, the love of his life for 65 years, passed away, my dad was really sad, but he never complained. He just said, simply said, I'm grateful for each day I had with her. When I was having trouble with my Parkinson's, I got real discouraged. I called my dad and I asked him for advice. I said, Dad, I feel sick almost all the time. I can hardly talk. I can hardly walk. I have trouble sleeping. I have trouble controlling my tremors. What advice do you have for me? And my dad told me these two words. He said, get tough. That's not what I wanted to hear. I didn't want to hear get tough. I wanted something warm and fuzzy. I brooded about that for a couple of days and then realized my dad was a tough guy. Tough enough to serve his country in World War II. Tough enough to work at a meatpacking plant for 45 years of his life. Tough enough to be mayor of our city. Tough enough to handle 5 kids. He was a tough guy. He was tough in handling macular degeneration and so on. My dad was my hero, my role model. And I realized that those two words, get tough, meant everything. It meant everything to me. I started working harder and exercising. Started my activities again. My life is a challenge, but I do the best I can. And here I am, still going strong because of Dad's words, get tough. I want you to think about that. Growing old isn't easy. It's not for sissies. We need to get tough and truly work at appreciating things and maintaining family relationships and positive friends. Get tough. I live in the Villages, Florida. And I want to tell you about the toughest guy in the Villages. His name is Gary Ingram. He's a retired police officer, 20 years ago, his Parkinson's disease was so bad that he couldn't bend over to tie his own shoes. He was in a walker. He decided to get tough and started an exercise program. Today, Gary can not only tie his shoes, not only walk, he can walk 8 miles. He walks 8 miles every day. He's 73 years old, so every day he does push-ups. For each one of his birthdays, 73 push-ups a day. He leads aerobic classes. He leads something called the Parkinson's Fight Club in the villages. Gary Ingram is a tough guy. You can benefit by being a tough person yourself. We have some super tough quotes by some great people.
The man who says he can and the man who says he can't are both correct. Confucius. Our greatest glory is not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. Confucius. Happiness lies in the joy of achievement and the thrill of creative effort. Franklin Delano Roosevelt.
So the first rule is to get tough. The next rule is cherish every moment. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, Mike, come on, give me something new. That is such a trite, typical idea, cherish every moment. Well, let me tell you what was happening in my life. When I made my recovery and I was feeling good, I was worried that the sickness would come back. And that was haunting me. And I realized that was depriving me from being as happy as I possibly could be. And I realized I had to find some way of getting out of that. So here's what we're going to do. Those of you watching and listening, what I want you to do is lightly close your eyes. Some of you are peeking. No peeking. Close your eyes. And I want you to think of this. It's 20 years from today. You have macular degeneration. And you can no longer see. And you say, if I could just have 1 day of sight, I'd really appreciate that and I'd be happy. Well, open your eyes. Ta-da! You have your eyesight, not just today, but for every day. So cherish every moment, and we have some quotes that will reinforce that idea.
Realize deeply that the present moment is all you ever have. Make the now the primary focus of your life. Eckhart Tolle. You must live in the present, launch yourself on every wave, find your eternity in each moment. Henry David Thoreau. We should learn to live in the present moment.
All right, when I was recovering, one of the things I did was positive self-talk. Positive self-talk. And what I would say is every day, in every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger. Every day, in every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger. Then real loud, every day, in every way, I'm getting stronger and stronger. I'd say that throughout the day, and you know what? It made me feel better. You could talk yourself into feeling good. So use positive self-talk. Another idea is to think young. When you look in the mirror, don't look at an old man or an old woman. Look at a young person. Tell yourself you're young. I've got a quote here which Amanda will read.
May you keep dreaming until the day you die. May imagination overtake memory. May you die young at a ripe old age. Mark Batterson. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Mahatma Gandhi. Some people are old at 18 and some are young at 90. Time is a concept that humans created. So much has been said and sung of beautiful young girls. Why doesn't somebody wake up to the beauty of old women? Harriet Beecher Stowe. Beautiful young people are accidents of nature, but beautiful old people are works of art. Eleanor Roosevelt. I just make it my business to get along with people so I can have fun. It's that simple. Betty White. The pain you feel today is the strength you feel tomorrow. For every challenge encountered, there is opportunity for growth. Unknown. To be tested is good. The challenged life may be the best therapist. Gail Sheehy.
The next idea is to be humor proactive. There are two ways of looking at humor. One way is to lay back and say, I'll laugh when somebody says something funny. Another way is to seek out humor. In Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the number one quality of effective people was they were proactive. My challenge to you is to be proactive in terms of humor. Take a look at the screen. Look at all 8 of those people. And then focus on one for 10 seconds. And let that person's joy and love and laughter penetrate your spirit. Be humor proactive. You can do things every day that brings humor to your life. Time Life had a book called Laughter is the Best Medicine. And here are some quotes from it.
So, laughter can lead to higher quality relationships and improved communication.
And also laughter can bring
less inflammation and improved blood flow, leading to improved memory.
Can't we all use some improved memory?
Laughing changes the body's chemistry, both raising hormones for happy feelings and lowering stress-related hormones.
Ready to learn something new? Sure you are. It makes us feel good when we can learn something new, especially when we use it. That something new is called equanimity. And what I normally do is define terms, but instead I'd like to challenge you by just giving you some quotes. Most of you will figure out what equanimity means after the second or third or fourth quote. There we go.
Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better to take things as they come along with patience and equanimity. Carl Jung. With equanimity, you can deal with situations with calm and reason while keeping your inner happiness. The Dalai Lama. Every moment of equanimity is the moment of waking up from the delusion that things should be as we want them to be. Tony Bernhard.
And so things aren't what we want them to be. That happens sometimes. Get over it. Count all the good things in your life.
Letting go doesn't mean giving up, but rather accepting that there are things that cannot be. Unknown. Find a place inside where there's joy, and the joy will burn out the pain. Joseph Campbell.
Maybe you're hurting. Maybe your hips or knees or something hurts. Think of that special place in your heart, that special place called love, and that can burn out the pain.
Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin, yet I tell you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. Matthew 6:28-29.
That's from the Bible, the book of Matthew.
Affirmation. I choose to respond to life's provocations, not with anger, resentment, or regret, but with equanimity and a focus on positive action. Jonathan Lockwood Huey. How slight a thing will disturb the equanimity of our frail minds. Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist.
And so use equanimity to balance out your life, knowing that there are some things that will be a challenge. Not everything goes well. We don't always win. Accept that and appreciate the good things that you have. What we're seeking is balance. What it all comes down to is having a positive attitude. And that comes from positive thoughts, which can be put into words and they can be put into action. I have a quote by Gandhi that illustrates this point.
Keep your thoughts positive because your thoughts become your words. Keep your words positive because your words become your behavior. Keep your behavior positive because your behavior becomes your habits. Keep your habits positive because your habits become your values. Keep your values positive because your values become your destiny. Mahatma Gandhi.
So your values become your destiny. We have some quotes by Anne Frank that illustrate the importance of a positive attitude.
How wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Think of all the beauty left around you and be happy. Despite everything, I believe that people are really good at heart.
And the final idea is helping others. Now, I know that many of you do that. You help your family, you help your friends, you help in libraries, hospitals, schools, and other places. You help people and you know the joy of that. But I want to bring home some quotations that will reinforce that. First, by Sir Winston Churchill.
We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give.
And I want you to think about something. You have to be responsible in creating a life and a living for you and your family, making some money. But you really create a life by what you give.
If you want to lift yourself up, lift up someone else. Booker T. Washington.
So today, I wasn't having a very good day with my Parkinson's, but I thought about all the good that this video can do. And I thought about that, and it made me feel better. By lifting up others, I lift myself up.
For our own success to be real, it must contribute to the success of others. Eleanor Roosevelt.
That is especially true for teachers and people in the medical field.
We can't help everyone, but everyone can help someone. Ronald Reagan.
And we can help someone. Find that someone to help.
He does not live in vain who employs his wealth, his thought, and his speech to advance the good of others. A Hindu proverb.
And that's a Hindu proverb. Maybe that's the first time in your whole life that you've heard any proverbs or any words of wisdom from the Hindu faith.
An individual has not started living until he can rise above the narrow confines of individualistic concerns to the broader concerns of all humanity. Martin Luther King, Jr.
And that's by the great Martin Luther King. Finally, Danny Thomas, the founder of St. Jude's Hospital.
Success has nothing to do with what you gain in life or accomplish for yourself. It's what you do for others. Danny Thomas.
And with that, I'd like to tell you the best story I've ever heard. I'd like to tell you about the best story I've ever heard, the best story I've ever told. Let me take you back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 1970s. It's the killing fields of Cambodia. A vicious dictator by the name of Pol Pot has taken control of his country. He's killed 3 million of his own people. The scene is a slave labor camp. A group of people decide they're going to try to escape that night. In this group are mostly strong young men and women, an old man, and a woman with a baby. They break through the barbed wire. They scramble to the trail. They move to the road. They travel quickly. They travel quickly 2 days in a row with hardly any stops. Finally, they stop and rest a while. They're ready to go, but the old man can't get up. The old man wanted to be a free man, but he couldn't rise. He couldn't get up. He was too tired. And so the others decided they had to go on without him. But then the woman carrying the baby went over to that old man and said, "You can't stop now. It's your turn to carry the baby." And they all looked back and saw that old man weep and tremble, and got to his feet, made one step after the other, took his turn carrying the baby, and became a free man. I don't know if that story that I just told you is true, but I do know that there's a great deal of truth in that story. And we're all like that old man. If we think only of our own needs, our own aches and pains and disappointments and challenges, then we become selfish and dismal and listless, and life seems to have no meaning. But when we know that people need us, they need us in their hospitals, in their libraries, in their schools. They need words of encouragement and appreciation and understanding. They need our love and hugs and kisses. When we realize that, then life takes on new meaning. Then we can be happy. Then we can stay happy as we age.